The history of math is our intellectual foundation for understanding science. Science. Beautiful, awesome, wonderful science. It's the creative foundation for our ineffable future. Hi, I'm Gabrielle Burchak, and this is my podcast, Math, Science, History. Hey friends! Do you have a great idea for a new podcast? If you're thinking about starting a podcast, I highly recommend using Libsyn to help you plan, launch, and grow your own podcast. Math Science History has been on Libsyn for almost 3 years, and we love it. We really do. Going with Libsyn is one of the best decisions we've ever made. They have everything you need to plan, launch, and grow your own podcast, including fantastic resources created by experienced podcasters who show you what equipment works best, how to record great audio, and how to get your show on various popular platforms like Apple, Pandora, iHeart, and more. As my friend, when you sign up, you get your first month of podcast hosting for free. They have various prices depending on your budget, too. This is the time to start podcasting. Visit Libsyn.com and use code FRIEND, F-R-I-E-N-D. That's Libsyn.com. Use code FRIEND, F-R-I-E-N-D, and start creating your awesome podcast today. If you've been following me on Instagram, you would see that I've been on vacation. I traveled up to Morro Bay in Central California, then on up to Seattle, gorgeous Seattle. Oh, I love it there. And then I traveled up to Vancouver, Canada, which was absolutely gorgeous. But now that my vacation is over, I'm digging my way out of a mountain of emails and social media messages. And I love those messages, and I really enjoy reading what you love about my podcast. Your listenership means the world to me, and I'm so incredibly happy that you are all enjoying Math Science History. That said, this week, I am reposting one of my most popular podcasts, which is the story of Archimedes and his determination of the value of pi. It's a remastered version with music. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your messages, and thank you for being part of this community that truly appreciates the history of math and science. And now, on with the show. Around 250 CE, Archimedes developed his approximation of pi. If it were not for pi, we would not be able to design trajectories for rocket ships. We would not be able to design wheels for our cars, or understand how the eye works in order to make advancements in vision, or understand the structure and the function of our DNA, or look at the ripples in fluid and understand how fluids flow, or perfect our GPS systems. The list goes on and on. Pi helps us to understand the dimension of the circle. And that is exactly what Archimedes named his treatise in 250 BCE. In Archimedes' treatise, Dimension of a Circle, he provides 3 propositions. The first 2 propositions explained basic dimensions of a circle as it relates to the area and circumference of a triangle. It is the third proposition that opened up opportunities for mathematicians over the millennia to determine the value of pi and how many digits it has. When Archimedes was trying to estimate the value of pi, he was only able to accurately estimate pi to 2 digits. Pi is a wonderful, magical number. Pi is a mathematical constant that's equal to the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. In other words, it is the circumference divided by the diameter. Archimedes' estimation of pi in Proposition 3 is probably one of the best explanations of how to estimate the value of pi. What he did is he began with a lower and an upper bound of the value of pi, with the lower bound being 3 and 10/71, and the upper bound being 3 and 1/7. He geometrically determined that pi sits between these two numbers by bisecting the angular measure of a 30-degree angle in order to actually observe the ratios of the tangent line that lies either inside the circle or outside the circle. So in other words, what he was doing is he was looking at the perimeters of polygons, both inscribed in a circle and circumscribed outside of the circle. And he took the values of those perimeters and kept adding more and more and more triangles to these polygons to get a closer approximation of pi. Eventually, he managed to create a 96-sided polygon, which showed that the inscribed perimeter of a 96-sided polygon inside of a circle had a perimeter of 3.1410, and a 96-sided polygon that circumscribed the outside of the circle had a perimeter of 3.1427. This was the closest that Archimedes came to approximating pi, and it was groundbreaking. Then, 400 years later, around 150 CE, the famous astronomer Ptolemy used pi to 5 digits, which was 3.1416. The accuracy of pi and the number of digits slowly grew over the years. In 1593, Francois Viète estimated pi to an accuracy of 9 decimal places. However, he was outdone in the same year by a Dutch mathematician by the name of Adrian van Roomen, who employed Archimedes' methods and circumscribed and inscribed a circle with a polygon that had 2 to the power of 30 sides. His calculation of pi consisted of 15 decimal places. 3 years later, another Dutchman, Ludolf van Keulen, also employed Archimedes' methods and used a polygon with 6 times 2 to the power of 29 sides. This provided him a value of pi to 20 decimal places. And so the value of pi grew and grew. In the late 1600s, astronomer Abraham Sharp found pi to 72 decimal digits. In 1706, John Machin found pi to 100 decimal places. And in 1717, French mathematician Delagny determined that pi had 127 decimal places. This continued over the years until 1797, when Carl Friedrich Gauss determined pi to 205 decimal places. Then, over the course of 200 years, the digits of pi grew extensively. Before I continue with the incredible and amazing development of the value of pi, I would like to ask if you could please give a listen to my next sponsor. Without these sponsors, the funding for this podcast would not be possible. Everybody wants more energy. Even when you exercise and take care of your body, sometimes that energy still isn't there. If you can relate, consider Athletic Greens. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free foods, Athletic Greens, also known as AG1, is a product that you can drink every day. It helps give you more energy, helps with your gut health, and it optimizes your immune system. AG1 gives you 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and adaptogens. For less than $3 a day, you can reclaim your health. What I really like about AG1 is that for every purchase, they donate to organizations to help feed kids in need. Also, Athletic Greens will send you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Just visit athleticgreens.com/emerging. That is EMERGING. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/emerging to take ownership over your health and obtain the ultimate daily nutrition insurance. By 1967, with the help of the computer age, the value of pi was known to 500,000 decimal places. In the early 1990s, in a tiny Manhattan apartment, 2 brothers, Gregory and David Chunovsky, calculated pi to 2 billion digits using a homemade supercomputer they had built. A few years after that, they doubled the digits of pi to 4 billion digits. With the age of computers, it became easier and easier to determine how many digits there are in the number of pi. With the help of Y-Cruncher, a program that can compute pi to trillions of digits, the current world records are 5 trillion digits by Shigeru Kondo in 2010, 12.1 trillion digits by Shigeru Kondo in 2013, 13.3 trillion digits by Sandon Van Ness in 2014, 22.4 trillion digits by Peter Trueb in 2016, and 31.4 trillion digits by Emma Haruka Iwao in January 2019. Then, 3 years later, in June of 2022, Iwao and her team at Google broke her record again by determining pi to 100 trillion digits. In an interview with GeekWire, Iwao stated that they were, quote, able to break a record again, not just by a few digits, but by a good margin. She states that she and her team believed that 100 trillion sounds reasonable and a significant advancement over the past record. I will place the last 100 digits of this 100 trillion estimate on my website at mathsciencehistory.com. What is most cool about this 100 trillion value determination of pi is that in the last 100 digits, 0 is its final value. If you would like to see all of the digits, you can also visit pi.delivery, which is a Google website that explains how the digits were created.
Do we really need 31.4 trillion digits of pi? Even today, NASA uses only 15 digits of pi for their calculations in space travel. On September 28, 2019, Elon Musk gave an optimistic speech, standing in front of his 50-meter-tall prototype. The newly assembled Starship reflected the spotlights for his audience. Musk talked about making space travel as easy as air travel. Ambitious as always, he has plans for crewed space flights to Mars. Whether or not SpaceX accomplishes future travels to Mars, there is no doubt that we will accomplish interplanetary travel in the future. We have pi on our side. We have that wonderful number that helps us to determine the trajectory of a rocket into space, around the moon, to Mars and beyond. Currently, Voyager 1, NASA's space probe, launched in 1977, is traveling in our galaxy 13.6 billion miles away, thanks to the help of pi. 100 years ago, scientists around the world never would have expected to accomplish the tremendous feats that we have in the last 50 years. But here we are, in an age where the stuff of our imagination is becoming tangible, where the dreams of our future are closer than they seem, and where we are fully aware that as a society, we can use the foundations of math and science to accomplish more than what is currently evident and tangible to us. Archimedes proved to us that as humans, we have the intellect to create a world that is forward-moving and future-seeking and capable of so much more. Over 2,000 years ago, with the seed of curiosity, the digits of pi grew. Today, its digits are unimaginable. This is hope in its greatest numerical form. This is hope that in our current age, with the seeds that have been planted, our tree of knowledge will only grow and take us to great heights and unimaginable destinations.
Thank you for listening to Math, Science, History. If you enjoyed this, please remember to leave a review. I would really appreciate that. If you're interested in the transcripts, you can visit me at mathsciencehistory.com. If you're interested in watching the show on YouTube, you can just search for Math, Science, History with Gabrielle Burchak. And finally, if you're interested in supporting Math, Science, History, you can donate through my website's coffee button, or you can visit Patreon at patreon.com/mathsciencehistory. All tiers are now pay what you want, starting at $1.39, because 139 is a happy number, which means that when you sum the square of each digit, it eventually reaches the value of 1. Until next time, carpe diem.